Thanks so much for hopping on today's webinar. This webinar should last about 30 minutes. We are going to have some open Q&A at the end of the webinar, but we're going to jump right in because it is 3 o'clock and I want to be conscious of my time here. So what we're going to cover today is we're going to cover what AMP is. We're going to cover the structure of AMP and the content in AMP and kind of just give you a definition of the program itself. We're going to jump into who the ideal student is for this course. And we're also going to cover some best practices that you as the office manager or BVP can use to help your agent get the most out of this course. And then finally, we're going to discuss the resources that are available for you so that you can promote this program in your offices. But before we dive in, I'd like to just do some quick housekeeping. If you're having any difficulty, there's a number on the screen, 800-721-3919. You can call WebEx directly, and you can enter the session number that's located below because there are certain things I can't fix. So I just want to give you this number. That way, if you have any trouble, you can call them directly. We have some communication tools available to you. You've probably seen these before. Like, for example, I might ask, and I will just now, if you can hear me, hit the green check. Perfect. I can see that you can hear me. I can erase those. So I might ask a question, ask you to use the red X or the green check, or you can raise your hand if you have a question. You can also use the chat panel if you have a question. You can chat to all the participants or just me, whatever you want to do, but feel free to chat. You are all on mute right now just to make sure that the recording is clean, but we will be checking the chat panel as we go because we do definitely want to answer your questions. And this session is being recorded. So I will email a copy of this to everyone. That way if you have someone new, maybe an office administrator in someone new in your office that you would like to watch this, who needs to learn a little bit more about this program, that will be available as well. Well, let's dive in. So what is AMP? Simply put, AMP is Coldwell Banker's productivity program. It's our core program. If you had Support You Can Count On or Discover Your Difference or Sales Pro or Skill Builder or any of those programs, AMP is now our core program. It's a 4-week-long productivity program that focuses on lead generation and doing. That's the big difference with this course compared to what we had before. It's a very active and interactive course for our participants. They're going to learn the skills and best practices they need to increase their productivity right now. We lose new agents. The number one reason is because they're not getting up and productive quickly enough. And this program will fix that problem if we follow the best practices. The second thing we're going to do, as I said, we're going to ask them to engage in activities. It's going to be they come to class, they learn, and then the second that they learn it, we say, okay, here's what you learned today. Now go do tomorrow. We know that's how people learn. They learn by doing. So we're going to ask them to do activities, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what those activities are. We're going to teach them how to leverage the tools that will allow them to launch and sustain their careers. We're going to teach them right away how to add a contact to InTouch, how to use their relationship starter campaigns. We're going to teach them how to leverage Cole Realty so that they can find phone numbers and email addresses if that's available in your market. And then, of course, lastly, and the big difference on this one is we're going to track their daily contacts and appointments based on the personal goals that they determined in week 1. And those are going to be different for every student that comes through this course. So what is the content? You know that AMP is a 4-week course, so let's talk about what's involved in each week. Week 1 is called Unlocking Your Potential, and week 1 covers their motivation and their goal setting. So why is it that they are a realtor? What is that driving force within them? Maybe they want to put their kids through college. Maybe they want to help an elderly parent. We're really going to get to the core of why they do what they do, because that's where it starts. Then we're going to set specific goals for contacts and appointments. Week 1 is really what sets the standard for the rest of the 4 weeks, and that is why we ask if a student misses the first week, we're going to ask them, we're not going to force them, of course, but it's a best practice that they just wait and come back at the beginning of the following, the next session that comes up in their region. Because everything that happens after week 1 focuses back to week 1, and that goal setting is so foundational in everything that they do. Week 2 is called Get New Business Now. This is going to cover lead generation, for sale by owners, expired listings, farming. Week 2 is also going to cover the difference between active and passive prospecting. You know, marketing is great and in-touch campaigns are wonderful, but that's really passive marketing, and that might get them business in their pipeline down the road, but we really need some active lead generation right now so that they can get a paycheck. In week 3, we cover Succeed with Sellers, and that's the listing process. Now, let's not confuse this. You've probably heard about our new course, Outlist Outlast. It's probably in your market right now, or it has been recently. That's a mastery level listings course. It is only about listing, and it's 4 weeks of the listing process, whereas that's way too much for someone who is new. Somebody who is newer to the business, they're going to get what they need from week 3, which is Succeed with Sellers, about the listing process and how to handle a listing. And then week 4 is Build with Buyers, and that's going to cover everything from the buyer's consultation all the way down through a client for life. So that's your content. That's 4 weeks of your content. Now what I would like to cover is the structure or the breakdown of a week. So we're going to, for this example, we're just going to be looking at week 1, which is unlocking your potential. Each week has 3 parts to it. The first part is what we call the AIM session. That would be, it's probably 3 or 3.5 hours depending on your market, and that's where the knowledge transfer happens. The agents have their AMP workbook. We're going through the workbook. We're doing class activities and we're doing discussion. It's very hands-on. That's where they're getting all their information stored. Once they're done with their AIM session, they're going to move on to their achievements, and that's where we ask them to go and do. There is self-paced work in each different week of AMP. These are the self-paced work, or this is the self-paced work, 4 of these for week 1. Time blocking. We're going to start them right away with the right habits, and that is, hey, block your sales meetings, block your open houses on the weekend, block the time that you're going to make contacts. We're going to get them calendaring from the very, very beginning. We're going to have them create their sphere of influence list. We're going to be asking them in week 1 to contact their sphere of influence. And I would just like to debunk a myth right now. I have heard in the field that there are agents who are leery about participating in this program because they know they're going to have to make phone calls. The first thing I would like to share with you is if this class is a 3.5-hour class, we're going to ask them to make phone calls for 15 minutes. That's it. And we're asking them to call their sphere of influence. So please help them understand that. We're going to have students who are just going to say, hey, I'm not comfortable making calls. And you know what? That's okay. We are going to know how many daily contacts they need to make. And if someone says to me, I'm afraid to pick up the phone, I'm going to try to get them to overcome that fear. But I'm also going to say there are a lot of other ways to make contacts. We discovered today that you've got to make 7 contacts a day. So how are you going to do that? Are you going to go to networking events? Are you going to go to the PTO meetings? Are you going to go to the grocery store and wear your name badge? There's a lot of ways to make contacts. So I don't want them to miss out on this opportunity simply because they're picking up the phone, and I hope that you will share with them, it's only 15 minutes and we're not asking you to call strangers. So third achievement in week 1 is developing their value proposition. We need to help them know what to say when they do finally get to a contact who's willing to talk to them. And then again, the sphere of influence, relationship starter campaign and In Touch is one of the achievements in week 1. Finally, they come back for the track meet. So they are in the classroom twice in 1 week. The track meets are shorter. They're about 2 hours. And a track meet should look like this. The students should be coming in, and the first thing that we should be doing is reviewing their achievements for that week. So I might ask a student to share their value proposition if they're comfortable. I might ask them how they're doing with their sphere of influence list and see if they've run into any issues. We're going to pull up the scoreboard because we've been asking them to track their contacts and appointments, and we're going to celebrate the successes of those who did get contacts and appointments. How did that happen? What did you say? How did that feel? Then we're going to allow the floor to be open for struggles. Where were the challenges? That's an opportunity for us to practice scripts, to help work together in groups, to help them to overcome those fears. And then, of course, we're also going to have a guest speaker. So The guest speaker is where we would love to have your help. And by guest speaker, I don't just mean title and warranty, although they are coming in AMP. It's important for our agents to know their preferred partners. However, we want agents, and we even want you as the manager. We know that our students, they listen to us, and we're their instructors, but they really listen to their counterparts. And we've got some areas where we've got some great guest speakers. If you've got the Rookie of the Year in your office, or somebody who does a great open house, or they're great with listings, or you are an expert in those things, reach out to your regional sales instructor and give them those names, because that is where the magic happens. When they're hearing from someone else from their region who came in and said, I was horrified, and I picked up the phone, and I did these things, and I was the Rookie of the Year, that's just priceless. So that is what a track meet looks like. So again, your AIM sessions, your achievements, and your track, that is how each week breaks down. So let's talk about who the ideal student is. There are several different types of agents that would be perfect for this program. And the first one is going to be the agent who's new to real estate. If they're brand new to real estate, my piece of advice for you is make sure they've completed their onboarding checklist. I know we just rolled out this new onboarding checklist, but think about this. Now that you've understood the content, week one, we're going to say, hey, go out, talk to people. They need business cards. How are they going to be prospecting if they can't hand out their business card? They need MLS access, because they're going to need to be able to set up a search and search for property. So think about those types of things. We want to get the new agent into class quickly, but not too quickly, because what we've seen is we've seen someone new come in, they've spent 4 weeks in this class where they could have knocked it out of the ballpark, but they fell flat because they just weren't ready yet. We've also got the new to Coldwell Banker, but they've got a real estate background. Maybe this was one of your Normandy agents. If it's somebody who's already been selling real estate, my advice on this is make sure they have gateway access, because we have that line of frustration where they're ready to go. They've sold real estate. They get it, but now they can't access and touch. They're really excited about Cole Realty, but they can't access that. So the frustration level sets in, and that's just not a good experience for that person. So just need to make sure that they have gateway access. How about the existing agent whose business has stalled a bit? You know, we are just past the halfway point. We're still in July. So I'm sure all of you are talking to your agents and looking at where they are in reference to the goals they created at the beginning of the year. What a great opportunity for you to coach somebody who's falling short. Hey, have you thought about taking the production course? We've had some agents completely transform their business who've come through this program. It's really exciting. So please take that opportunity to talk to your existing agents. If you've got somebody on the Just One More list, you know, we want to help you get your bonus. So if they haven't gotten their Just One More, AMP is a great choice for them. How about somebody who wants to get back to the basics? I know this was me when I was an agent. Every other year, I knew myself, and I knew sales, and I knew I had the tendency to get lost in the shuffle, so I would go back to some sort of training course. And you can look at my years. Every year that I did that, there was a huge surge in my production. So just because somebody is meeting their goals doesn't mean they can do even more. I would still be talking to the agents in my class and saying, you know what, this would really challenge you. You could really knock it out of the ballpark if you participated in this AMP program. Then any agent who's looking for an accountability program, and they're out there, they're hiring coaches. If they want accountability, we are happy to give it to them. So lots of different types of students. Every single one of these students really needs to be looking at the pre-AMP checklist before they come to class. This one document will be a huge difference maker in the person who comes to class and says, hey, I brought my phone list, I'm ready to make calls. And yes, that did happen. We've had students come in ready to go. Or the student, when we say, okay, it's time to call your sphere of influence, and they sit there with a horrified look. This document was created to prepare them for the class. So in addition to bring a list of contacts. This is what we're asking of you. I want you to look at these blue, where it's highlighted in blue, and they can just type in these fields. We're asking them to come with their yearly bills, knowing how much their estimated yearly bills are and their goal for their yearly savings, which combined make their financial goals. So if my estimated bills every year are going to be $75,000 and then I want to save $25,000, my financial goal is going to be $100,000. Most agents get that blank look on their face when we say, what are your estimated yearly bills? We need this for the goal projector, which you're going to see in a second. So just having them take the time, what's your mortgage payment? Do you have a car payment? What are your bills? This is the nitty-gritty. How much money do you need to live this year? Then in the next section, you're going to see we're asking them for their average sales price in their market. It's going to be different for everyone. Their average commission split and the commission split percentage. Those pieces of information are going to be essential when we do their goals in week 1. So I'm going to show you some sample content right now. This is from week 1 to kind of give you an idea of what we will be covering. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to ask them to reflect on where their business is today. Somebody who's new might say, well, I really don't have much business today. I just got my license. That's okay. We're going to say, where are you today? What's contributed to the success that you've had so far, and what has kept you from achieving your goals? And this is an exercise. We're going to have them write this stuff down. This isn't something they have to necessarily share, although if they would like to share it, that would be fantastic. The knowledge is in the room. If they've had successes that they want to share with the class, great, we want to hear it. But we need them to be brutally honest with themselves on where they are in their business today. Then we're going to hop into these financial goals. This is taken directly out of week 1's participant guide, and you can see number 1 says their estimated bills this year. That's directly from my preamp checklist. Desired savings. We put some numbers in here, so if my bills are $42,000 and my desired savings is $10,000, we give them 3 choices for additional goals, like maybe they want to get a down payment for a new car, maybe they want to join the gym, who knows, whatever it is, we're asking them to tally these things up. You can see line 8 says my business financial goal is $66,000. Now, I'm going to take that $66,000. We're going to move over to the goal projector and plug those numbers in. I'm going to walk through this with you so you can really understand what we're asking from them. So the $66,000 went in line 1. Line 2, they've got to know their average sales price. Again, many new agents don't know that. They're going to need you to help them. What is the average sales price in your market area? Their average commission. We're going to have to do some math. We're going to pull out some calculators, and we're going to get the average commission income by dividing line 2 and line 3, $7,500. They're going to plug in their personal commission split. They're going to know on line 6 what their average commission income is going to be per transaction. Then it's very simple math. They multiply lines 4 by 5, and they're going to get back up. That was their average commission. Moving down to 7. The number of transactions they need is line number 1, which is their financial goal, right? That $66,000, that was how much money they needed to make. They're going to divide that by line 6, which is their average commission income. That's going to tell them how many transactions they need to close. Line 7 is how many transactions they've got to close based on their personal financial goals. Now on line 8, this is the number we're going to give them, average number of appointments needed to result in a closed transaction. We're just going to say that's an average number of 3. If your agent is tracking those things and they know that their number's different than 3, great. But most of them don't. So we're going to say you're going to get 1 out of every 3 appointments that you go on. We're going to plug that number into line 8. On line number 9, we're going to take how many appointments they need to go on in a year based on that. So if they need 18 closings and they're getting 1 out of every 3, they need 54 appointments. Now, how many weeks are you going to work this year? Hopefully not 52, so they don't burn out. In this example, we've got 48. When you divide those 2, you're going to get the number of appointments you need in a week, and that's 1.125. That's not really that hard, right? 1.125. Line 12 is the average number of prospecting contacts needed to result in an appointment. Now, that's 30. You might be thinking that's high, but that is the average number out there, and if they know that their number is different, they can use it, but we're going to ask them to use 30. Obviously, when they're calling their sphere, that number is going to be smaller, but the majority of the time it's not going to be their sphere that they're calling. So line 13 is the number of prospecting contacts they need to make each week. That was line number 11 times line number 12, and that's 34 in this example. So we have broken it down for them into how many contacts do you need to make every week. Now, we're going to take it one step further. I don't have that slide on here, but we're going to ask them, how many days a week are you going to work? Maybe they're going to work 6. Maybe they're going to work 5. I'm just going to assume that this person's going to work 5 days a week. And I'm going to round up because when I divide 34 by 5, it's 6.7. I'm going to say 7 contacts a day is what this person needs to have in order to hit their financial goal. We are drilling down. This is foundational. Again, now you can kind of understand why somebody coming in after week 2, they're really going to be missing the foundation of this course. So what exactly is a contact is the question we get all the time. This is so important. I took this definition straight out of the AMP book. A contact is a face-to-face or voice-to-voice communication to offer value, and the last 3 words are the most important. Ask for business. That means if you go to the restaurant and you sit at the bar tonight for dinner and there's 3 people that you chit-chat with while you're at the bar, they're only contacts if you've asked them for business. If you've said, do you have a real estate need? Do you know anyone, or who do you know even better, who's going to have a real estate need? It doesn't count unless you ask for the business, and that is foundational. We need to all start speaking the same language when it comes to contacts. It's only if you ask for business. Okay, we're also going to talk about priorities in week 1. The number 1 priority, we all know it, you've got to add names to your contact management database every day. You got to make contacts every day. We know how many. For this person, it was 7. So when in doubt, always fall back. You're going to have priority 2 and priority 3, but priority number 1 is making contacts every day. Okay, so what are your best practices? We've been facilitating this now for the last 10 months, and we have had some really great ideas pop up from region to region on what managers are doing to make the most out of this program with their agents. And here's what we've learned so far. Clearly, the pre-AMP checklist is a game changer. Somebody who has seen it and done what's asked and somebody who has not, it's night and day. Knowing your agent's daily and weekly contact goals so you can coach them. Now, we're asking them to pick up the phone and text you. Once we've done the goal projector and we know what their daily and weekly contact goal is, we're saying, hey, grab your phone, text your manager. Now, if you're not getting that text, be proactive and go to them and say, hey, how was week 1 of AMP? What are your daily and weekly contact goals? I'd love to be able to help you. Just being involved and knowing those numbers is very important. Scheduling a weekly follow-up with your students to help them out with their classwork, or what we call the achievements. We have found, especially for the newer, they struggle sometimes getting through the out-of-class work. We've had a couple of regions where we've got managers who just said, you know what, we're going to block in our calendar 30 minutes once every week, maybe Wednesday morning from 10 to 10:30. I will be in the conference room to help anyone who is taking the AMP course. So you're in there. If anybody comes, great. If they don't, you can just be in there working, but that will allow your students to pop in. I'm struggling with my value proposition. I'm struggling with making my contacts. They just know you are setting the stage that this is important, and I have time blocked in my calendar every week so that I can help you to be successful. So that's a great option. Using the leaderboard, that's huge. And you're all supposed to have access to the leaderboard. You just go to www.rescoreboard.com, use your NRT Gateway login, and you should be able to log right in. We have found in some areas that the access is not there. So if you haven't been using the scoreboard or you're not sure, please log in and check to see if you have access. We're going to talk a little bit more about how you can leverage that, but that's a huge part of this course. And I think it's going to be a huge part of a lot of courses as we move forward under this new education outline. Oh, that's a bad word. Anyways, under our new education format, we're going to be using the scoreboard. We're going to be asking them to do a lot in tracking their calls. The next thing is leveraging your regional sales instructor. You can pick up the phone and call them. We do have a couple of regions that they have a weekly call scheduled with their leadership, their managers, and their regional sales instructors, and they go down through the registration list. So your regional sales instructor will say, hey, you know, Wendy's been coming in late. She's really struggling with her achievements. I think she wants to do well, but she seems frustrated. You might need to spend some extra time with her. Or they might say, Brandon is a superstar. He's not afraid to talk to people, but he just needs reined in a little bit. They will let you know what is happening with your student as they're going through the 4 weeks. So whether you decide as a group of managers that you want to have a call that's every week at a specific time, or if you just want to pick up the call and contact your regional sales instructor, they want to work with you to help make this agent successful. You should be getting weekly emails from them with updates of what's happened during class that week, but feel free to call them directly and get some information about your student who's taking the class. So what resources are available to you is the last thing we're going to touch on here. First thing I want to talk about is SharePoint. If you log into Office 365, you just click on SharePoint and open it. There is a search option inside of SharePoint. If you search Coldwell Banker NRT Education, you will come to our education page, which has a lot of material that you can use to promote the class, such as flyers. So we've got some flyers that are even customizable, different types of flyers for you to use that you can hang around your office, email out to your agents. We've also got social media banners. If you'd like to promote this on your Facebook business page, or maybe you want to put this on Instagram, they're available for you on the SharePoint site. We also have the manager FAQs on that SharePoint site. So again, material will be updated and always be dropped into that SharePoint site, not just for AMP, but for all of our courses. So please leverage the SharePoint site. And again, you're going to search Coldwell Banker NRT Education. The next thing is Sales Pro. The Sales Pro portal has an entire page built just for your students. So when you log into Sales Pro, there's also a search bar in Sales Pro. You can just search AMP, or you can search AMP resources. You'll get a list of links. And when you click on the AMP resources, you're going to see this page that I have a screenshot for you. When you scroll down through this page has all 4 weeks of the achievements on it. So if you're not sure what we're asking them to do out of class each week, here it is. If you haven't seen this page yet, I highly recommend logging into Sales Pro and looking at this page. You can even click on each one of these and go through the process yourself so that you can really experience what it is that we're asking your agent to do. You will much better be able to assist them if you use this page and look at these. Some of these, you can see the e-learnings. They're interactive. It's a really great resource, and you've got it at your fingertips. You just got to search for it. Scrolling down a little further, there's even an area where they can watch videos on for sale by owners, expired listings, and the participant guides are available for you to download each week if you'd like to have a copy of the guide that you can reference maybe when you're meeting with them from 10 to 10:30 on Wednesday. Participant guides are there, as well as instructions on how to access the scoreboard. Now that's the participant walkthrough, but you can follow the same instructions and yours is just going to look a little bit different than theirs, the scoreboard. Speaking of which, RE Scoreboard is our last resource we're going to discuss. So you're going to log in to rescoreboard.com. The box in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to click on Leaderboard, and then you're going to need to choose the course because all of our courses are listed. So you'll find AMP, and then you'll find the class or cohort. They mean the same thing. And then you'll be able to see all of the students. You can see here we've got some students listed. Heather Chura is at the top of the list. She's got the most points. Points are based on their contacts and appointments, etc. So you're going to see the whole list here. But if you find your student and click directly on their name, it's going to give you the breakdown of their goals. So for Heather here, she's got 8 daily contacts and she's got 56 weekly contacts as her goal, and she's got 1 weekly appointment. You can see the bar there is green. If she were behind, the bar would be red, and it even says to her, you need to make 27 more contacts to meet this week's goal. Below the green bar is every single day where she's entering her contacts and her appointments. So you can see, hey, are they making lots of contacts and not getting any appointments? Then it's probably an issue on what they're saying. You can become so involved in the development of your agent by saying, hey, I noticed that you're making a lot of contacts, but you're not getting any appointments. Let's work on your delivery. You know, you're putting that much time and effort into it. How can we make you more successful at this? Just a fantastic coaching tool. So that is all. We can open it up for questions now. We're just about officially at 30 minutes. So I'll take this time to answer any specific questions, but keep in mind again, I am recording this, so I will send out this recording, and I would just appreciate everybody's participation today, and we will hopefully be offering these quarterly as new managers come on board.